Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Mom Talk today. And today I have Ginger with us, and we are going to talk a little bit about Erasing Family. It has premiered, so we're going to talk about what has happened since it's premiered. Excuse me, I'm all tongue-tied tonight. So we're going to get right into it because this is going to be a shorter night. So let's go ahead and get talking, Ginger. So the film was released last Saturday. It's available on streaming, so anybody around the world can now purchase the film and watch it. So how has this last week been for you?
So the last week has been very crazy. First of all, I want to say thank you, Dawn, for having us on there. And if everybody right now can take a second and share this live video on their page, I'm going to do it right now and share it on the Erasing Family page. And to do that, Dawn, maybe post the link.
Yeah, I have someone in there doing that for us right now.
Great.
So she'll be posting that.
And then, so I'm just going to do this right now. So you just click on the video and then you should see it. So everybody, if we could just share. So a lot of stuff has happened. And I think the most important part that I've seen is that, first of all, we have launched a text line, which is the first time professionals have been staffing a text line. So anybody who watches the film and needs emotional support, this is not legal aid or therapy, but emotional support, direction to resources, can text 865-4-FAMILY and talk with a professional, a therapist, coach, pastor between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern. And lots of people have been connecting with that. On the Erasing Family page, the day of the premiere, which was April 25th, last Saturday, we had over 10,000 people join us for the live Q&A. And on the Q&A, we had Ashlyn, who's one of the reunited erased daughters from the film. We had Professor Jennifer Harmon there as well. And we also had Michelle Jordan, who is heading our impact campaign. So that was all really exciting. And also Caroline DeBalt, who's one of the reunited erased moms. And what people are really saying is that the film and all of the resources we are giving on erasingfamily.org and on our text line are helping people to heal, because our message is stopping the blame game and finding ways to reunite with your children. Because I feel like right now, give me 1 second, I'm just going to share this link. So if you haven't already, please share this live video on your page, share it on any groups you're in. Is that people are really, I have been to so many conferences and talks and podcasts, and it seems like everybody wants to focus on defining the problem. And what the Erasing Family film does, and the resources on our page, is starts giving you tools how to reunite without relying on the family courts. This isn't a miracle, this isn't a one-step process, but the first is preparing yourself mentally and emotionally, being strong for your child, then knowing that creating conflict, and Ashlyn, you heard this on our live Q&A, she said that anytime there's conflict, the children flee. So your job as an erased parent is to be conflict-free, unconditional love. And then what we really need to do is change the system. This isn't about getting a better lawyer. It's not about winning a case. It's about systemic change. And the more people can step back from family court, and that might just be admitting that family court can't help you, letting it go, and finding ways through activism, through education, through dripping love. So that's been what people have been telling me about the film. And I'm surprised at all of the feedback that we've been getting from the Erasing Family video. And you can see this on our Vimeo page, on our post, has been overwhelmingly positive. Because I've done a lot of films and people always have bad stuff to say, but this has been very positive. And then the most, touching thing, and this isn't a surprise because this is what we designed the film to do, is that the erased kids themselves have been saying that this has been super helpful in them reuniting. And I think the real challenge we have is getting this film out to more children. And by that, I mean young adults as well, because they're not going to find this film on their own. And the only way kids will find it is if we share it with them. On our website, Erasing Family, we have a link where you can bulk order copies of Erasing Family, send them as gifts. And a lot of people say, well, my kids won't answer an email. But you know what? Someone else's kids will answer an email. Just send it to every divorced kid you know and let it propagate like that. And hopefully in the future, we're going to have more resources on our website for professionals and parents and kids to help them reunite. But we're also doing little short videos about from reunited erased kids. So I think it's all been very, very positive. But a lot of people ask me, how can we duplicate the change that my other film, Erasing Dad, had in Argentina, where after Erasing Dad came out, people started talking about this issue, became front page news. And most importantly, the laws changed to allow for joint custody, which was not even an option in Argentina before the film came out. Mm-hmm. And also took away the gender bias in the law, because before the film came out, custody automatically went to mothers. And then after the film, gender was no longer a factor in deciding custody. And the answer is people in Argentina shared the film. It was censored. They shared the film. They found ways to share the film. So if you like the film, share it with 10 people and then have them share it. And that means really asking people to watch it beyond, or sending them a gift link beyond just posting it on social media, which is great, but it's not the same as actually telling people about it. So that's what people can do.
Can you explain how somebody, because there's a lot of people that are still at home, they can't go out, or they can't go to friends' house or family's house. So how can they watch the film together?
So what they can do is they can ask people, hey, can you buy a link to this film? It's only $9.99, you own it forever. And can we watch it together? You can also go to our page, erasingfamily.org, and you can order bulk copies, in 5 or more at a time, and then send them to people. And we've had parents buy up to 50 copies already.
Wow.
We're talking to people who want to buy 100, and they're going to send them to every state rep in their state legislature. They're going to send them to every family court judge. And this is like super exciting. And this is a great time to share. And then also people need help, because people always contact me saying, Ginger, can you help? And people know that I'm not a therapist, I'm not a coach, I'm not even very empathetic. And that's why we set up the text line 865-4FAMILY. And anyone, a grandparent, a kid, a parent, a professional can text. And what's different about this line is they're volunteers, but they're all trained people who have either degrees in psychology or in coaching, or are pastors trained in.
And they're familiar with what's going on?
They're familiar. So everybody has to have been a certified coach or a therapist. So and the whole idea behind the text line is to help people to know they're not alone, that they're one of, unfortunately, 25 million parents or kids in North America who are suffering from this. And also to direct them to resources. I found that a lot of parents don't know all the resources that are out there, and there needs to be more resources, but a lot of times there are groups in your area that you might not know about, and it's so important to have a support group.
And you have a lot of free resources available on Erasing Family's website too, right?
We do. We have filmed over 30 hours of free video that's available under videos on our website and on our Facebook page. We have handouts. We have lots of links, and with our text line, we can give you tailored resources. So this is above and beyond what most films do, and that's really our commitment to making this more than a film, but a movement to help reunite families. So we're not even partnering with organizations, we're creating our own resources, and we hope that more organizations will begin. Like, I would love it if a group of lawyers could have a legal help text line, to give people some legal help, even if that help is, don't go to family court, don't go to family court, don't go to family court.
Right.
Even if that's a help, because so many, and I think that's the next step in our movement, is to really reach people before they divorce and separate, and let them know the trap that family court is. Because, and everyone says this, once alienation takes hold, it's not impossible, but it's very hard to stop it. But it's easy to prevent. So I think we need to start doing more prevention and really reaching out to people before they even filed for divorce.
Right.
That's what we need to do. That's where we need to reach people, so they do not call a lawyer, and that they go the mediation route. I always say it has to be with a qualified mediator if it's a high conflict situation. A lot of mediators don't do a great job, so you really need to find a good one. And also for people who really need support going through the process, another alternative is collaborative law, where each party has a lawyer, but they agree not to go to trial. And it's more involved, and I think it might be more expensive than mediation, but it's so little the cost compared to a trial, because both lawyers are committed not to win, but to reach a mutually agreed upon.
So it keeps it out of the courtroom. They're not spending all of that money, the thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to litigate and continuing having to go back motion after motion. They can work on it together.
Or going pro se, which means self-representing.
Right.
And a lot of judges hate pro se people. Family court is super complicated. In California alone, there's over 200 forms that can be used in family court. Family court judges sometimes have caseloads of 2,000 families. They're not going to get to know your case. They're not concerned about justice. They usually defer to professionals that you then have to pay for. So it's such a huge trap. Family court needs to be abolished, and we need to help more resources. But what people can do right now is avoid family court. And we can also be sending a message to children to reunite. So,
So before we ask some questions, if anybody that's watching, if you want to ask a question, could you please put either Ginger or Dawn in the beginning of your questions, so that as I scroll through, I will be able to pick them out very easily. And then I want to kind of recap while they're doing that. So there is a hotline that anybody can call, and this can be for parents and or children, right? Adult children or college age children.
Anyone can call it. There's no age limit. There's no age minimum. And a professional could call it if they need resources. But kind of the idea was like, I need people to stop asking me, help me, and give it to people who know more, who are trained in de-escalating conflict. So sometimes, on the chat, it might be emotional comfort, like you're not alone, calm down, we understand how hard this is, which is what sometimes people need. And it might be something directed to more of a resource, like here's a coach you can hire, here's a program in your area that's free, here are free resources. And there's a lot of free resources that are out there that people can take advantage of.
And this hotline is no fee for anybody calling in as well. So another free resource.
It's completely free. It's all staffed by volunteers. And I want people to so if people get nothing else from here, it's don't personal message Ginger asking her to help. She doesn't know how. Call the text line so professionals can help you who are volunteering their time, who are all either licensed therapists, coaches, or pastors who are trained in giving support, and they all have resources there to help.
All right, you guys all heard it. Call the hotline. And it's a really easy number to remember too. It's 865. Oh, you go ahead. You do it better.
865-4-FAMILY.
The number 4 is in there. Yep. Yes. Okay. And then, so anybody that wants to watch the film and you can't go over to a neighbor's house or a friend's house, they can both purchase the film and then maybe watch it through Zoom. How does that work?
No, they would just watch it together at the same time. We really haven't set that up, but you would just press play at the same time and you can watch it together.
Watch it together. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little low tech. In the summer, we will have more streaming options available. This, like so many other films, this was not in the plans to release it at this time because of the coronavirus. So the free platforms where you'll be able to watch it with ads, that will be available in July. And that's just because that's how long it takes to get on the platform. And also, and then the other thing also to let people know is that this is for home viewing. If you want to have a screening in a group or even a virtual training and everyone watches it together, then you do need to contact us about an institutional contract.
Yeah. Okay. And then there was also a link going around about, and I'll find it and we'll put it in the comments later, but there is a link that we can actually ask Netflix to consider adding it to their platform. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. I just want to make it very clear. It's just on their website. I have no idea how helpful it is. Netflix said they didn't want to show it because they don't think there's an audience for it.
Oh, okay.
They didn't say it was bad or they didn't like it. They just think people weren't interested. So if people say that they're interested, it's a Hail Mary pass.
Yeah. Hey, it's worth a shot. Okay, and so was there anything else? We got the hotline, we got the Vimeo. It will be available on Amazon and a couple other platforms, and then Tubi, I think, is the free version in July.
The free one. A lot of documentaries are using it, and it's free with ads. So people have the option of an ad-free experience. It will always be on Vimeo. Once you buy it, it's yours forever. And then it will also be on YouTube rental and purchase and iTunes later on. And then it will be eventually, but probably in the fall, on DVD. Some people are asking for DVDs. I don't even have a DVD player, but that version will be out there for people. And then the other thing too is, and an erased mom said this, she said, I can't talk to my kids, but I can talk to other kids. And if you share the film with a kid, and this is very important, never say, you need to watch this because this film is about you and I'll wake you up.
Right. Very important.
No. Or selling it to an alienator saying, you need to watch. No. Hey, there's a film about divorce and kids. Here's the link. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And the reason why we get so many kids to come to our screenings is because we say it's a film about divorce and kids. We don't say anything.
We don't want to make anybody feel like, oh my gosh, it's about me. Why would I want to watch it or anything like that?
Or defensive.
Yeah.
I mean, also the reason why we did a film and we didn't do a book or seminars, which are great, is that a film is a very low commitment way to talk about this with people who don't know about the issue. And I've always said it's great that parents going through this watch this, but it's really about educating the people who don't know about this. And because the film is it has high production value, it's not slow, it's emotional, and it hits you in the heart. Mm-hmm. It's not meant to replace a book or a training. It's meant to educate the general population.
And changing hearts through film.
Right. So I feel also when people want to show something, they say, here's the film, here's 10 books. And it's like, no, let the film talk. And if people are interested in more resources, let them ask you. But the whole point is like, hey, it's just a movie. Just watch a movie as opposed to learn about this issue and like do this. It's the same thing. If, I'll give you an example. If I'm like, Dawn, I really think you should go vegan because every time you eat animals, you are not only causing pain and suffering, you're destroying the planet. It's bad for you. And I'm disgusted every time you eat meat on your plate. Right. I mean, what's the reaction to that?
No, yeah, that's a bit instantly abrasive. Yeah, right.
But if someone just says, "Hey, try this tofurkey," you might be like, "Oh, tofu," But like,
hey, didn't we eat at a vegan restaurant in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, but like, and I'm not even vegan. I'm just using it as an example. But like, if you offer people vegan food, people are like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll eat it or not." But if you're like, "Eat the vegan food," and you're horrible, I can't be. Then you become that obnoxious vegan, and that can happen with any cause. Like you can be, by being friendly and nonchalant about it, it attracts more people.
Right. And, you can always purchase this film and send it in a link as a gift. So you don't even have to say anything. You can just say, hey, here, watch a film on me. I think you might be interested. Let me know what you think. Yeah, something simple. All right, so should we look for questions? Let's see if anybody's posting any questions in here. Thank you for everybody that's helping with posting the links and the helpline. All of that, that's good stuff. Let's see. When they are thinking about it, my ex wouldn't mediate. So that's a question. That was a comment based on when we were talking about the mediations. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, I won't scroll. Here we go. Anybody have any questions about the film, about the Vimeo, about the hotline?
I'll say something about the mediation. So these are tips and they're not going to work in every case, but you can always look hold on one second. You can always keep insisting. And I think what's also going to be very helpful is work out a number of what it's going to cost to go to court.
Yeah. And then
show the other side what the cost is. And then what you can do is say, look, we're going to spend $50,000 on lawyers. If we do mediation, that will save us $25,000. And I know this isn't like, people don't like this advice, but I'd always say, I'm willing to give you 10% on that for not going to court.
Yeah, well, there's probably a lot of ways that you can work maybe something out. So Richard asks, what's the movie? So the movie that we're talking about is called Erasing Family. It's a documentary, and Ginger's the director of this film. And it is basically exposing the family bond.
And do we have a link in the?
I believe so. It's in here somewhere.
Well, let's put, if someone can put the link in the, because I'm having a little trouble in the comments section. But you can go to erasingfamily.org, and it's a film 5 years in the making. And what is unique about this film is it's from the child's point of view, and it follows young adult children as they reunite with their erased families. And it shows how beautiful and wonderful it is to reunite. It also doesn't sugarcoat it, and it shows how these reunifications can be bittersweet.
Exactly. Let's see. The comments are you having a hard time too with it scrolling?
I can't see any comments. But that's just, I'll reload the page.
It's like it only scrolls and then it sticks. So I'm trying to see if we have more questions in here. Lots of comments about how much it costs for separation and custody. Lots of money. Lots of comments about, wishing that we knew about this before, because now, now they've already gone through the mediation.
Right. I mean, I also want to say there's a lot of really bad mediation out there. So,
so there's collaborative law is not talked about very often. So can you explain why collaborative law might be cheaper, and why a couple would want to have collaborative law? And then I think we do have a question after that.
Sure. So collaborative law, so mediation, the way it works is sometimes you both can have a lawyer in mediation or not, but there is one mediator who kind of acts like an arbitrator or a judge. And with collaborative law, each party has a lawyer, but the lawyers agree not to go to trial, and they're not trying to get a win for their client. They're trying to get a mutually beneficial agreement and de-escalate the conflict.
Okay, that makes sense. So I do have a question for you from Jessica Anthony. When you have a party that can't follow court order, even ones that are actually in agreements that are mediated and then incorporated into the court order, the only thing that will help is reforming family court. You can't co-parent with someone who is mentally ill or vengeful, and the current system is a legal system trying to alleviate a medical problem. How can we use this film to address the legislative need?
Okay, so the first part is actually people can co-parent with narcissists, and they can co-parent with mentally ill people, and they can co-parent with borderline people. There's this huge myth that I find very damaging, because whenever anybody says you can't, to me that is just trying to flip the alienation. Kids deserve to have a relationship with both parents. It doesn't necessarily mean equal time, but there are methods being developed, especially by Bill Eddy, B-I-L-L-E-D-D-Y, and his High Conflict Institute, where they are presenting findings on how you can co-parent with a borderline and a narcissist and someone who's mentally ill. The problem is, here's why it's not happening that one. One, this is kind of new. 2, it's very, very hard. 3, therapy doesn't work. And what courts often say is order people into therapy. And what these people need are clear boundaries, coaching, and they need to have small consequences. But if you say to a borderline, if you don't do this, we'll take your kids away, what they often will do is then kill the kids or themselves. Oh, so it's very, very difficult. And most therapists don't want to do this. Most therapists say they can't do anything with alienation either. They just say these cases are impossible. And what the problem is they are not trained correctly. And I suggest that everybody who's interested contacts the hotline 8654-FAMILY and ask for specific resources and trainings that the people involved in their case should be taking. And we're going to start having trainings for professionals. There's already trainings out there. In a few months, I don't run these trainings, but I want to say it's not impossible. It's very, very hard. And there's maybe a handful of people who are properly trained to do this. And
so you definitely need resources. Yeah.
Yes. So this is, and what I will say is Bill Eddy, his institute, they are working on this. And I was at a conference where they presented findings on co-parenting with a narcissist, and they're beginning to have borderlines and narcissists talk in the first person on videos, because these are wounded individuals. And one thing that really disturbs me in this movement is hearing people talk about narcissists as narcs, vilifying them. These are wounded, sick people. Full disclosure, I come from a background and a movement where I don't believe anybody is an other and anybody is a criminal, and I believe everybody is worthy of redemption. That doesn't mean we forgive and let them do horrible things. That's what people often think. It means we stop them from harming themselves and stop them from harming others. Right. And that is very difficult, but that is different from outcasting them and punishing them. And that's what the family court does. It says, who's the better parent? Who does the kid want to live with? Right. Who has the worst mental illness? Right. So I would suggest stay tuned. We're still developing resources, but we do want to have a course available soon.
Would this be something that could be offered in like pre-divorce?
Right. So I would say the film itself, what can be done is, first of all, anybody in your case, get them to watch it. So they know that so first of all, they know that there's harm when a kid can't see a parent. Right. And there's harm in the blame game. Right. Then that should inspire them to seek help from resources, because the film is not a training video, but it shows that kids being asked to pick sides, one parent who isn't perfect, and no parent is perfect, being kicked out causes grave psychological damage. And it can't just be, let's wait until the kid is 18, because often they don't come back on their own. So I would say that's how the film can be used. Okay.
So I think there's another question. It says, what's the best advice you can give when dealing with a narcissistic alienator? So I think you basically just answered that by calling the hotline and asking for those resources.
Right. So, and then also what we do learn is that there's some people who thrive on conflict. And so the more you can de-escalate the conflict is better. And one great resource is Bill Eddy, again, who has a method called BIFF, B-I-F-F, which is called Brief, Informative, Friendly, Firm. Now, the reason why I always suggest Bill Eddy, and Bill Eddy, you know, he'll point out to me, he's not a shared parenting advocate, but he's someone who works with high conflict individuals in family law and in business. So his advice isn't just for an ex, but it's keep it brief, informative, friendly, firm. So what people tend to do is they tend to give in, so be firm. They tend to escalate the conflict by being long.
To keep it
and they're not friendly. So instead of saying, again, you won't let me see the kids, you're obviously a narcissist, you need help. Instead of saying, well, I will be there at 7 p.m. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting me know. And there's a whole training with this. But that's very different from, once again, it's like, don't go to the conflict, always de-escalate. And also these methods, they take a very long time to learn this. And there's also has to be an internal work of patient acceptance.
Yeah.
For me, and I come from a high conflict family, I found meditation to be very helpful. I found the teachings of Buddhism, which isn't, it's a religion in a way, but it's also a philosophy of dealing with, it's accepting everything and grateful for everything and wishing happiness on everybody who wishes you harm. And that was very hard the first time I had to do meditation, wishing for someone who I was angry at for a very good reason, to be happy. I became hysterical and had to lie down for 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
So this isn't easy. And it's not like, do this and everything will be fine. It's like,
it does take work.
I got to the point after 3 years of meditation and studying these techniques where recently, well, like it was in September, somebody, an ex, I called them up because there's a Jewish holiday called Yom Kippur where you ask for forgiveness. So I just called up and I said everything wrong that I did. Nothing major, okay? So people, typical ex stuff. And the person hung up the phone. So I called again because you have to ask 3 times. And then they yelled at me for a half hour saying what I did was unforgivable, that, now you're Jewish, calling me asking for forgiveness, what you did is unforgivable. I said, well, is there any way to make amends? No way you can make amends. I'm not letting you know. And at the end, he hung up, but I was very proud that I didn't engage or try to defend myself or argue with them. I just listened. And then at the end, I was like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do.
And you tried.
So I'm not going to try to make amends because he was very clear. What I did was unforgivable and there was no way that I can make amends. So, but I didn't say, oh, come on, nothing's unforgivable. What did I do? Kill somebody? Like, I was just like, okay. But
it takes a long time to get to a place that you can do that. That's the
years.
Yeah.
Of meditating every day, going to meditation classes up to 5 hours a week, doing therapy, studying these techniques.
And there's a lot of them out there. So people can look at different options of what works really well for them. Yeah,
well,
I mean,
something from Mike Simmons saying, I believe this film might get through to some alienating parents. They honestly think they're doing nothing wrong. And I think that, there's people who are suffering from a mental health issue and those people are harder, but there's people who are doing this for a monetary gain. There's people who are doing this for revenge. And I think in some cases that those cases, the film could be very helpful.
Yeah.
But also don't expect anybody to ever say, to then come around and be like, I realize how wrong I was and I'm sorry. And people really need to stop holding out for that. You can stop behavior, but people are always heroes in their own mind. And it's very, very hard to admit to how wrong you've been. And if you do that, then it's kind of basically like I remember someone had an advice column once and they wrote into an advice column and said, I'm really concerned and disturbed that I might be a sociopath and I'm very upset about this. And the person wrote back, if you're upset over the fact that you think you're a sociopath, you're not a sociopath, because a sociopath by definition wouldn't be upset by this.
Right.
So you're not, you might be like, you might not be very empathetic, but but by showing that, then you're not.
Right. So we have a comment in here from Peter who said, ask your local legislators to show this film at your local legislative office buildings when they reopen. So a lot of them are closed right now. And, here in Florida, we did have a sponsor that we were going to be able to go and show it, but then they didn't redo the budget. So, and then the Corona stuff started happening. So it's like, when they reopen, we just start all over again and go right back.
And also people are sending people links with the virus. And also if you can't get to your representative, always see if somebody on their staff can watch it. Yep.
Yeah, because I do have some of their emails.
On the list until you get the intern.
Yeah. So some of us have gone there. Yeah. We have their emails. We could always send them the link and then maybe they'll go ahead and watch it on their own.
Right.
And then say we would like to follow up and show your other colleagues or your other legislators when they reopen. So Peter also says to disengage with the other parent as much as possible. Parallel parenting works fine. Let's see.
Yeah, and to comment to that, it's like there's a lot of like picking your battles and letting stuff go. And I know this just because, can I do a public service announcement right now?
Sure, go for it.
Please don't post anything about your ex ever on Facebook unless it's something positive.
This is that's something Ashlyn said.
I've seen far too many legal documents, text messages, photos, comments. And in the film, we show how one daughter, I don't think this is the only reason, but the reason she gave is her father posted something on Facebook, and it wasn't even the worst thing I've seen. I mean, you've seen it. It's a repost from the father's rights movement, and he just says, "Yep, happened to me." And this causes the daughter to reach out and write a long email saying, "You're not my father. It's only blood and DNA. You're a stranger." For one post, which is not by far the worst I've seen. I've seen people saying, "I wish my ex gets the coronavirus."
Yeah.
And people who are doing legislative work saying this. I'm like, what if a legislator sees this? And it's like, and that's why a support group or therapy is so important. If nothing else, to have a place to vent that's private.
Mm-hmm.
A private Facebook page is not private. Anybody can screenshot that. Anybody can be on a private Facebook page, but it's just not, it's not helpful.
And you never know who is watching. Like you said, it could be
a legislator, it can be the judge, and then you get slapped with a contempt order. It can be your kid, and a lot of people say, "Well, my kid's not on Facebook." They know how to create fake accounts better than you can, and if you don't think they're Googling you, if you don't think they're watching you, because people, I think, confuse having no contact with the kid is uninterested, and they are Googling and they are watching.
Absolutely.
And they know how to find stuff. So, I mean, people sometimes say, "Well, it's a private Facebook page." I'm like, no, there's nothing private. Even chat isn't private. And I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying, oh, if you have nothing to hide, like, I think it's horrible, but just like be aware that like, that's why an in-person therapy group, meetup group, support group, when this is over, is so much more valuable than an online group and an eventing group.
Well, and kids are so curious. They will stop at nothing to try and find out what they don't know. So Alyssa asks you a question. Our biological mom is high conflict and denies out-of-state visitation. She's only had them 1.5 years and had them for many years prior. She coerced them into moving in with her, telling the judge they wanted to move. Now, issues with personality, actions of kids, and we don't see them help balance them. They're changing rapidly. So I don't see a question. Is that, Alyssa, can you clarify? You're saying it's been 10 years. So, I mean, again, that's something that they can call the hotline for as well, because you have different laws now because you're in 2 different states. So how do you?
I mean, I think also, you know, if there is any time or Zoom time, just making it as positive and happy as you can with the kids.
Yeah.
And then doing all the you know, the fighting behind the scenes. And compromising as much as you can. And sometimes it's impossible. Like, you know, we're giving this advice where I also don't talk about this a lot, but I lived with an erased dad, which is how I got involved with this for 7 years as a couple. And he did so much stuff correctly, and he didn't see his daughter at all, but I mean, no contact. And she only lived 20 blocks away, but not even like phone calls from the age of 6 to the age of 21.
Wow.
But he made a racing dad, and she saw it, and they did reunite it when she was 21.
Oh, good. That's
and
good.
It was because, and that's also why like the bystanders are so important. So in the film, we also show how Ashlyn reunited with her dad because her boyfriend at the time was like, "Dude, you should call your dad, and even if you don't like him, like the worst, like,
yep.
what do you got to lose?" Like
sometimes that's all it takes is that little nudge. Like
we can all do that for we can all do that for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. So another question for you from Pamela. With schools out and families not being able to switch out kids, how can we get movies to people? So this is another one about the links and maybe the gifting.
So you can just send them the link, just say, hey, I'd love for you to watch this. And if you feel like they don't want to pay $9.99, you can go to our website and you can buy in multiples of 5 gift copies. And then you just send them a link that they can just log into.
And then when they log into it, it downloads to them. Do they own it from that point on?
No, it's not a download, it's a stream.
Okay, so it's a one-time viewing.
No, you can watch as many times as you want, but it's streaming. So it's only, it doesn't.
Right, it just meant that they could rewatch it over and over as many times as they want.
Yes, so you own it, but you don't own a physical copy.
Okay. Let's see. This is from Jessica, any judge asking a child to choose or allowing them, I think this is a comment, allowing them to is abusing the child. It happens in courts all over, and we know that. And, it's definitely something that happens quite often. Another comment from Mike Simmons, alienation is encouraged by the family court lawyers. So you have that winner takes all. The alienation continues after the case is over. The alienating parent is made to believe that what they are doing is right. They continue to alienate even after the financial incentive. So you had a judge in the film, and one of the things that caught my attention is he said, I don't know what happens after they've left the courtroom. And he even said that he had the same case in his courtroom before because he kind of remembered him. So and then, judges don't remember. And they don't follow up.
Right, they don't follow up. So like one thing that I think the movement can do is they could get, states to pass laws that family courts have to do 1, 3, and 5-year follow-ups. Even just sending out a survey, because then also like, I usually when people say, oh, we'll study it, I'm like, that's kind of like, it's a way not to do anything. But that's, instead of studying it, asking them to collect data. And that's because today, with all the data that's being collected, it's pretty shocking that this major government institution has no idea if what they're doing works. Like, we know so much, like in education, we know so much about like Head Start preschool, what percentage of kids 30 years down the road are not in jail? What percentage of kids go to college? What percentage of kids are on welfare because of an intervention that happened at age 4? We know by statistics, and I was like doing some educational research, like they actually have broken out like what the percentage intervention success is for each program and like whether it's worth it or not. And like, it's insane. And so we have this black box. And I also think it's a good thing to call people out on, because if they say, well, family courts have to do this, this, and that, you can say, I'll take your word at it. What proof do you have? And then they'll say, well, and in Australia, this is very effective because they called family court judges in front of parliament and they asked them, and they're like, we have no idea. And they're like, what do you mean you have no idea? And they're like, we have no idea what happens when people leave. And I think that's very shocking to people. So that's something that people can insist on is, what if they sent out by mail to last known address and email a survey 1, 3, and 5 years later, which is like, is the court order being followed? Are the kids doing better? 5 simple questions, and then we can get some data. Also, maybe we're wrong. Maybe the people who are suffering this are really a very small minority, and most people are doing like great in family court. We should shut up. But we don't know because there's no data. There's no data even in the United States about how many, what percentage of people have sole custody and shared parenting. There's a statistic that 83% of custody is granted to mothers, but the way they define it is so odd. Like Canada, we know only 9% of families have, the statistic is in the film, split custody equally after divorce. But in the US, like that statistic, it could kind of be anything. Like we don't really know what it means. And so that would be a great thing to include, not, it's too late, but like in the 2030 census to include it. And when they did in Australia, they found that, don't quote me on this exact number, please, but like 91% of divorced children don't even see their fathers even 1 weekend a month.
Wow.
And so they define 1 weekend a month as like, or 2 weekends a month as substantial contact. So only 9% of children in Australia were seeing their dad more than like 72 hours a month, or some like ridiculously low number.
It's ridiculous. You know, and it would be good to find out the numbers and have that, you know, having that knowledge, you rule things out one way or the other. Then you know the answer. So it would be good to have surveys or studies or some kind of way for them to track this. So let's, how many more questions do you want to take? You want to keep going?
Yeah, but only questions.
Okay.
And also, if people, while Dawn is scrolling, if people can just put in the comments if they have watched the film or if they have not watched the film yet, Erasing Family.
Okay, let's see. I'm seeing comments. I'm looking for question marks or Dawn or Ginger.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, it's stuck again. Hold on.
Sure.
It's all those thumbs up. Oops. Now I got it to move and it went too fast. Yeah, it would be nice to know how many people here watched the film.
Right.
There's still 55 comments and it's not scrolling, so I'm trying.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got to the bottom. It took me all the way to the bottom. There's some new names on here. It's good to see you guys. All right. I'm not seeing any. I'm either seeing all question marks or no question marks, and I'm not seeing Ginger or Dawn in the comments. So I am thinking it's just a lot of conversation. Oh, here we go. Patty, I have not watched the movie. She's afraid that it'll make her cry for days, and it is an emotional film. So it's definitely, it hits everybody different, and some in different ways for different.
Instead of watching it, send it to somebody. Maybe there, because there's a lot, I also know there's a lot of family members out there who don't understand what's going on. Send them the film. Like sometimes parents, like your parents,
watch it in small chunks too. Take a break.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't think everyone has to see it, but like, I know so many cases, like from the time I lived with an erased dad, like his parents would say all the time, like, why don't you just talk to the judge? Why don't you just talk to the judge? And a film like this can help other people understand what you're going through. So if you can't watch it, send it to somebody else.
Okay. I'm being told that Richard has a question and I'm looking for it.
Okay.
So maybe that's, I see all the questions. Oh, here, is this it? What do I do about my daughter's mom that is MIA? That would be a hotline question.
That'd be a hotline question, yeah.
That definitely, you need resources for that. And MIA, you know, there's a lot of, why is she MIA? There's a lot there that would be hard to answer. We don't know the content or context of that.
Yeah.
But I would definitely find out. I would definitely call that hotline and get some resources because, you know, you should know where she's at.
So the hotline is 865-4FAMILY.
Pamela Holt has watched the film. Thank you. And Stephanie Bradbury's watched the film.
Are there any more questions?
Oh, here's one. I can see the question marks on this one. Can you explain the mediation process, please? And what happens with the verdict, Ginger or Dawn? So we kind of explained it earlier.
Right. I would say if somebody needs help learning how to use mediation, to also contact the hotline, 865-4FAMILY, and say specifically that you're interested in convincing the other party to use mediation. You're trying to look for a good mediator. What should you know? And then they can help you with that and walk you through it.
Exactly. Okay. Catherine said she put a question. Can you repost it real quick so I don't, because the scrolling is kind of difficult and it would be a lot easier.
And we'll make it the last question.
Yeah. Okay, while she's doing that, it looks like Stephanie Piper put one in here real quick. How many Children's Abuse Intervention Center advocates have been approached?
So the best thing if you want to approach people is email impact@erasingfamily.org. And so we have shown the film in over, I think, 30 places. That's also on our website. It was shown at the American Psychological Association. It's been shown to lawyers associations all over the country and mental health associations. I don't know the whole list off of my head. The film is shown where volunteers are willing to do the work and get it shown because we can't be everywhere. So if you're interested in hosting a screening or get into the hands of someone specific, please email impact@erasingfamily.org. And if you forget that, just text the hotline and say that you're interested in getting it to like certain people.
Yeah, and just because the film's released doesn't mean we don't need to keep screening it, because we still want to get that into.
Oh yeah, so we want to get the screenings back up, and we're also going to have like some online training programs for professionals.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people are like, why didn't you show the film in LA? And that's because nobody volunteered to show it in LA. So the film goes where people volunteer to do it.
Yeah, so it's up to us, guys. If we want the film out there, we got to get it out there. So here's the last question from Catherine. I found it. Do you agree with the 90-day separation during the intervention and reunification?
So these aren't questions about the film.
No.
I'm not a professional, so you should text 8654-FAMILY.
Right.
Like like my general advice is like family court doesn't work. De-escalate the conflict. We need more resources. We need help. Stop the blame game. The actual protocol, that's for a professional to decide.
Yeah, and we can give opinion, but opinion, we can't really give legal advice or mental health advice or anything like that. So the hotline will really be more help.
Right. So again, the hotline is not therapy and it's not legal aid.
Resource.
It's resources and it's emotional contention. It's saying you're not alone, giving you some tips, but it's not talk therapy, and and there are no lawyers on the line. I would love it if another group finds lawyers that can do a legal aid line. That'd be great. But
I've heard a couple people talking about doing that. So hopefully that will come, because I think a hotline for legal advice, I mean,
it's also tricky because giving legal advice when you're not a lawyer, like there's like that's the thing too, like so people know, like you can't do therapy over state lines in the US. Like a therapist in California can't treat you if you're in New Jersey.
Yep. There's a question that I already know the answer. Chuck came in late. He wants to know if the film is Divorce Court. No, it's Erasing Family, and it has just been released this last Saturday. It's available on Vimeo. If you scroll through here in the comments, you can see the links that you can go and buy the film for $9.99. Maybe somebody could post that link in here real quick for him so he can find that easily. And then there's a lot more information on erasingfamily.org that you can find out more about the film and about Ginger.
If so many people are asking, what is the film? That shows we need to do so much more work. So if everybody on this chat, and even if you can't watch the film because you're just like, it's going to be too emotional, can everybody send in a private message the link to the film to 10 people who are going through this, who you know are kids of divorce, who have some interest in this, or who are family members? Just send it to them, because that's how people will know about this, and that's how change begins to happen.
Yep. And you don't have to put in a lot of information with that link. You just put in there, thought you might be interested in this, and leave the link, and that's it. Very simple, short and sweet.
Right. And then once they click on the link, there is information about the film and they can watch the trailer. So Dawn, actually, can you do a screen share and just show the trailer right now?
Yeah, let's see if I can.
And then we'll end with that so people can watch it.
It was such like a tug of war with whose side are you going to choose. I realized like it was just tearing me apart.
It was always, you're on my side or you're dead to me.
The first time my dad saw me, I was in my grandma's arms in a courtroom.
It really felt like she didn't want anything to do with me.
It's hard when you have to stop and think that your child wants nothing to do with you because of what they've been taught.
One parent gets to be a parent and the other gets to be, at best, a visitor, and at worst, completely erased. And a lot of it has to do with our judicial system.
What I remember about being in court was having to lie to the judge. Sorry.
It destroys lives, it bankrupts people every day, it tears children from their homes, and just so happens to be a $50 billion a year industry.
If you don't pay your child support, you're gonna go to jail.
Walter Scott decided to bolt from his car. Court documents show he owed more than $18,000 in child support payments.
These fathers are not deadbeat, they're dead broke.
Nothing I said mattered. None of the evidence I brought forward mattered. The judge wouldn't even look at it.
He's nothing like I was told he was.
If there's 22 million adults dealing with this, that's over 22 million children. And the mental health consequences are severe and long-lasting.
It's heartbreaking to me to see how many of you are dealing with this.
My dad was erased from my life.
It's happening all over the world.
This isn't a father's rights issue. It's not a mother's rights issue. It's a human right issue.
My daughter here and I have been alienated from each other for the majority of her life. She called me and said, "Dad, it's time to move home," and she came home.
If the court worked in a way where there was 50-50 custody, I'd be happier. I wouldn't feel a void because I've never known a life where one parent wasn't missing.
A new bill would make default custody 50-50.
How come we don't have shared parenting in the law? It's called special interests.
We need more clarity in law to support what is best for children, shared parenting, and this helps move in that direction.
I want to show people that it can have a happy ending.
In about 10 minutes, we're going to leave for the courthouse so I can legally readopt my daughter.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So again, please watch and share, and thank you for having me on, Dawn.
Thank you so much, Ginger. And I love the film. I'm so glad you made it. And thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.